Welcome back to Grammar Grade 12. I'm really glad you're here. This is Unit 11, Lesson 82, and today we're going to talk about the comma, but from the other direction. Usually we ask, where does a comma go? Today we ask the opposite question, where does a comma absolutely not belong? Because a comma dropped in the wrong spot can trip a reader, split two words that belong together, or even glue two whole sentences into a tangle. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to spot 6 of the most common comma mistakes and fix every one of them. Let's get started. Here's the map for today. We're going to walk through 6 places where a comma sneaks in but shouldn't. 1. Between a subject and its verb. 2. Between a verb and what follows it. 3. At the very front or the very back of a list. 4. Around an essential phrase that the sentence can't spare. 5. Joining two complete sentences all by itself, the famous comma splice. And 6. Before a conjunction that's only linking 2 words or 2 phrases, not 2 clauses. 6 traps. For each one, I'll show you the wrong version, mark the comma that doesn't belong, and then hand you the clean fix. Let's take them one at a time. Trap number 1. Never separate a subject from its verb with a single comma. Look at this sentence. The tall boy in the blue jacket waved. That comma after jacket feels almost natural, doesn't it? The subject is long, so your voice wants to pause before the verb. But a pause is not a comma. Take the comma out and the sentence stands up straight. The tall boy in the blue jacket waved. The subject and its verb are partners. A lone comma should never come between them. So no matter how long the subject grows, don't fence it off from its verb. Trap number 2 is the mirror image. Never put a single comma between a verb and what comes right after it, its object. Here's the sentence. She insisted that she was right. Again, the comma seems to mark a natural breath after insisted, but the whole clause that follows is the object of insisted. It's what she insisted, and you can't slip a comma between a verb and its own object. Remove it. She insisted that she was right. Verb and object, like subject and verb, travel together. Keep the comma out from between them. Trap number 3 lives at the edges of a list. Inside a series, commas are your friends. Apples, cheese, and bread. The trouble comes at the 2 ends. Watch. We packed apples, cheese, and bread for the trip. See the 2 extra commas? One sits right before the first item, after packed, and one sits right after the last item, after bread. Neither belongs. A series doesn't get fenced off from the rest of the sentence. Clean it up. We packed apples, cheese, and bread for the trip. The commas between the items stay. The commas at the 2 ends go. Trap number 4 is the subtlest. Some phrases inside a sentence are essential. The sentence needs them to say who or what it means. And essential phrases never take commas. Here's the sentence. The book that she recommended changed my life. Ask yourself, which book changed my life? The one she recommended. That clause isn't extra information. It's the very thing that tells us which book. Because it's essential, it must not be walled off by commas. Drop them. The book that she recommended changed my life. Save your commas for the extras a sentence could live without. An essential phrase is not one of them. Trap number 5 is the big one, the comma splice. It happens when a single comma tries to join 2 complete sentences. Look, the rain stopped, the sun came out. Each half could stand on its own. The rain stopped, the sun came out. 2 whole sentences. A comma alone is far too weak to hold them together. That's the splice. You have 3 good fixes. Add a conjunction. The rain stopped and the sun came out. Or use a semicolon. Or just make 2 sentences with a period. What you can't do is let a lonely comma carry the whole load. And trap number 6, the one that catches careful writers. Don't put a comma before a conjunction that joins only 2 words or 2 phrases. When and links 2 full sentences, a comma before it is correct. But when and links just 2 verbs or 2 nouns, there's no comma. Here. Maria opened the box and smiled. Opened and smiled share one subject, Maria. It's a compound predicate, not 2 sentences. So the comma before and has nothing to separate. Take it out. Maria opened the box and smiled. 1 subject, 2 verbs, no comma. Save that comma before and for when 2 complete clauses meet. Let's boil all 6 traps into one quick habit. Before you write a comma, ask what it's actually separating. If the answer is a subject from its verb, a verb from its object, the front or back of a list, or an essential phrase, then stop. That comma doesn't belong. If a comma is trying to join 2 full sentences by itself, upgrade it. Add a conjunction, use a semicolon, or start a new sentence. And if a conjunction is only linking 2 words or phrases, leave the comma out. One question, what is this comma separating, will catch almost every mistake. Let's practice. Here's your first set. I'll read you 2 versions of a sentence, and you choose the one that's punctuated correctly. Read, decide, and pause before I reveal each answer. Which is right? The old clock on the mantel, comma, chimed. Or, the old clock on the mantel chimed, with no comma. The subject runs long, but it still can't be split from its verb by a comma. The correct sentence is the second. The old clock on the mantel chimed. Read both. The storm passed, comma, we went outside. Or, the storm passed and we went outside. The first uses a lonely comma to join 2 complete sentences, and that's a comma splice. The second adds and, which does the joining. The correct choice is the second. The storm passed and we went outside. Which is correct? We bought, comma, milk, eggs, and flour. Or, we bought milk, eggs, and flour. That comma right after bought fences the list off from its own verb. The inner commas are fine, but the one before milk has to go. The correct sentence is the second. We bought milk, eggs, and flour. Now the second set. These test the trickier traps, essential phrases, compound predicates, and a verb and its object. Same routine. Read, decide, and pause before each answer. The house, comma, that Jack built, comma, still stands. Or, the house that Jack built still stands. Which house still stands? The one that Jack built. That clause is essential, so it can't be set off with commas. The correct sentence is the second. The house that Jack built still stands. Noah washed the car, comma, and waxed it. Or, Noah washed the car and waxed it. Washed and waxed share the single subject Noah, so that's a compound predicate, not 2 sentences. No comma belongs before and. The correct choice is the second. Noah washed the car and waxed it. Everyone knew, comma, that the plan would work. Or, Everyone knew that the plan would work. The clause that the plan would work is the object of knew, and a verb never takes a comma before its own object. The correct sentence is the second. Everyone knew that the plan would work. Let's gather it all up. First, keep a single comma from splitting partners that belong together. Never between a subject and its verb. Never between a verb and its object. Second, respect the edges. No comma at the front or back of a series, and none around an essential phrase your sentence can't spare. And third, remember the two conjunction traps. A comma by itself can't join two full sentences. That's the splice. And a comma doesn't belong before a conjunction that's only linking two words or phrases. The single question behind every rule is the same. What is this comma actually separating? Ask it every time. Next lesson, lesson 83, we'll pull all of this together in commas in review, a full workout on when to use them and when to leave them out. I'll see you there.